Scientists finally understand how baleen whales make sound. Welcome back to T to the Sea, and there are two different types of whales or cetaceans. There are the odontocetes or the toothed whales, whales like sperm whales, beaked whales, dolphins, and porpoises. And there are the mysticetes or the baleen whales, whales like humpbacks, fin whales, blue whales, and those guys. Most, if not all, of these cetaceans rely primarily on sound to not only navigate their environment, but to also communicate with each other over long distances. Odontocetes, which are generally more social than their larger mysticete cousins, tend to rely on high-pitched frequencies like clicking, whistling, and chirping, whereas the baleen whales primarily rely on low-frequency calls that can travel long distances as they are more solitary and tend to be more spread out over an area. Now, we've known for a while how odontocetes make their sounds. They produce sounds in their nasal passage using a series of chambers and passages called phonic lips. These phonic lips are squeezed together using muscle contractions to produce sound through air movement that then escapes through their blowhole. Baleen whales, however, clearly use a different method of vocalization, as they have a nasal plug in their blowholes. They literally plug their nose whenever they are underwater. Therefore, they are not able to produce sound through their phonic lips and blowholes. They don't even have phonic lips to begin with. However, baleen whales do have larynxes, just like their odontocete cousins and other mammalian relatives. And for a long time, scientists have known that baleen whales produce sound through their larynx. We just didn't know how they did it. Because to produce a sound through your larynx and your vocal cords, you have to move air to cause the vibration of your vocal cords. And if baleen whales are literally plugging their nose, they can't push air through their nose to make these sounds, but they are still making sounds anyways. But with this new study's release earlier today, we now have the answer for how baleen whales produce sound. This team of scientists, led by Cone Elements from the University of Southern Denmark, looked at samples from 3 different species of baleen whales: a humpback, a minke, and a sei whale. And before you go, well, how did they study the larynxes of these whales? These came from specimens that were stranded on beaches. So they were already deceased and provided a unique opportunity to extract the larynxes of these individuals. And after the larynx was extracted from each individual, the team used this to build a 3D accurate computer model of the larynxes. Importantly, this computer model also had 3D reconstructions of the muscles surrounding the larynx, which allows the team to figure out which muscles are used to control the voice box. They found that baleen whales evolved the ability to produce sound through internal structures inside the larynx that toothed whales do not have. And most importantly, these internal structures allow the whales to use air to produce the sounds that they do, while also recycling that air so the whales don't end up choking on water. Specifically, baleen whales are using cartilage called arytenoids, which are also found in human vocal cords that are used to change the position of the vocal cords themselves. But unlike in humans, whale arytenoids appear as long, large cylinders at the base of a U-shaped rigid structure that covers the entire larynx itself, allowing the whales to use air to make their sounds without worrying about choking. So it's the structure of their larynx along with how they use specific structures inside the larynx that allows these whales to produce their low frequency sounds to communicate over hundreds of miles. It is an incredibly specific method of sound production, and this restricts whales from producing sounds outside a very specific frequency range. And because of that limitation, they are increasingly having problems with noise pollution. This noise pollution comes in the form of boat propellers through recreational boating and shipping lanes, and coincidentally overlaps in the same frequency range as whale sound production. Not only does this vessel traffic noise affect whales' ability to hear, as they do have incredibly sensitive hearing, it also prevents them from communicating with each other because whales can't produce sound at, say, a higher volume than the vessel traffic. Therefore, their own sound gets lost amongst all the vessel noise. With this study not only showing how baleen whales produce their sounds, but also the fact that they literally can't produce sound in any other frequency range, the scientists are hoping that this will help kickstart new legislation to prevent noise pollution from getting louder and even reducing noise pollution so these giant animals can communicate over the vast expanse of our oceans.